9 a.m. and 10 a.m. Events occur in real time.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome back. It's another week of FPC Radio Live on a Tuesday, August the 9th, I believe. I should check the calendar usually before I put that date up. I just kind of trust my instincts on this one. But no, it is, in fact, August the 9th. We are approaching the official, I guess, first week of the preseason, John, in the NFL. Because, of course, we had the Hall of Fame game last week, but every team kicks off their preseason this week, and that just means we're a little bit closer to football. So I'm pretty excited about that, and I'll say that's kind of where we will start here, John. Well, first off, good morning, John. How are you doing?
Good morning. Again, we're in the middle of a heat wave here in the Northeast, which has probably been hotter here than it is in your region down in Florida. It's just been oppressive, like every day in the 90s, but it's going to break today. Later today, which makes me very happy because I get angry, irritable when this type of weather strikes. I'm officially an old guy.
Well, actually, I spent the weekend up in Canton, Ohio, for the Pro Football Hall of Fame ceremony, and I kid you not, I went up there thinking I was going to get a little bit of relief from the humidity. I'm pretty sure it was worse. It was not. It was great up there. I mean, the experience going up there and getting to be involved for the first time with the Hall of Fame ceremony and being there on the field in the heat, in the humidity. It was very hot, John. I'll tell you that much. But no, it was a great weekend. I thought the speeches were incredible. I mean, obviously, I'm a bias towards Richard Seymour. I thought he gave a great speech. Bryant Young. Unbelievable. I mean, what an emotional moment, and just a great moment for him and his family and everything like that. And not shockingly, Dick Vermeil went by far the longest.
Yeah, he's pretty verbose guy, even at the advanced age of, I think, early 80s, right?
Yeah.
The player I was really happy that finally got in, unfortunately, wasn't able to attend because he's no longer with us, is Cliff Branch. Who, if you look at his numbers and Lynn Swann's numbers, Cliff Branch, it was a more productive wide receiver. It's just Lynn Swann played on those Steelers teams. He won 4 Super Bowls, but Cliff Branch was part of 3 Super Bowl wins himself. Yep. And he was big in those games, and his numbers were better, and he passed away a couple of years ago, and finally he made it in, but he wasn't able to see the fruits of his great career. But I was glad to see Cliff Branch finally make it in to the Hall, because it's tough. The receivers from like the 70s, like people look at their numbers and go, how the hell did they make it in there? It was a completely different game.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if a guy had 50 receptions in a year, that was a great year. Branch was a guy who had 50 receptions, but he'd have 9, 10, 11 touchdowns, which was incredible back then. So I was glad to see him make it as well. And Richard Seymour, who was always one of my favorite Patriot players. And, must have been a fun weekend there.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was a great, like I said, for me, it was my first time. Certainly won't be my last. I can tell you that much. That's how much I enjoyed it. But I was surprised. You get into, it's Ohio. It's small little town of Canton. You have rolling hills, a lot of farms, a lot of hay fields, and I'll get to that in a minute. And it was just a fun time. I mean, the event was great. The fans were great that I was able to interact with. Being a first timer. I didn't quite get access to the nice air-conditioned press box. All those seats were taken, but I paid my dues. I was down on the field. But the reality was, I think I appreciated that a little bit more. Although the one bad thing, John, and this was horrible right from the get-go. On the back of the field, they had I don't know what you call it, but it's basically like a white plastic covering, I mean, basically for all the wires, and it kind of extended across the whole back part of the field towards, the, opposite end of where the stage was. So that combined with the haziness and sunshine and the fact that I devastatingly forgot my sunglasses in my car when I got to the airport, The second I walked out on the field, my eyes just started pouring. And I couldn't see straight for what felt like the entire thing. Like every time I like moved into the sunlight, it was just like I my eyes were like pouring, and I was like, I swear I'm not being emotional. I can't see right now. It made it very
Right.
difficult to find out where I was going initially, but I powered through. I powered through
Yeah,
it.
you kind of like that's how I am 24 hours a day. So join the club, you know. So it's interesting that I've kind of gotten used to it. But did anybody mistake you as Joe Burrow's older brother? Because I mean, you're in Ohio. He's from Ohio. A lot of football people. Did anybody come up to you and say, "Hey, are you Joe Burrow's older brother"? Did
No,
anybody do that?
no, I think they were just trying to stay away from me because I was walking around with my eyes shut and they were just pouring
Right.
water. So they probably thought I was like just weird or something. So maybe if my
very
eyes were
emotional.
open, yeah. I mean, if it was a little bit cooler, I would have worn my coat that Joe likes to wear. I have one very similar. So maybe I
Yeah.
would have worn that with a big chain, and then they would have probably mistaken me that. But unfortunately, no, not this time. Maybe next year. Uh, no, look, I mean, it was great. I mean, what really, look, the whole town of Canton gets, this is a big deal for them. And they get involved. I mean, the volunteers that put on this event there, and there were so many, they were incredible. They were very helpful. They were very just accommodating for anyone that was there, because I mean, the reality of it is everyone there was there to celebrate something. There was no,
Mhm.
at the end of it, half the fans are going home disappointed, the other half elated. I mean, everyone was there to have a good time and to celebrate these great athletes. And despite the heat, and we saw there are a lot of Jacksonville fans. I'll say that Duval County traveled quite well, and rightfully so. I mean, when you finally get one of your guys into the Hall of Fame, the first from that franchise,
Mhm.
you got to come out and look. It was great to see Tony Pacelli get in. We obviously on one of our shows on the full press coverage, the Eye Test for Two. We've had the privilege of interviewing Tony. In fact, we've had the privilege of having Richard Seymour on as well, and some of these other candidates, including Dick Vermeil. And his speech might have gone just as long as the podcast we recorded with him. But no, I mean, look, it was great, and we kind of figured, or at least anticipated, or at least that was my guess. If you were going to have me bet on who was going to go the longest, 100%, I would have gone with Dick Vermeil. But no, it was just a great afternoon, great environment. The production was fantastic. The speeches, the presenters, and it was just a great first time experience. If you ever are in that area of Ohio and you get a chance to go to one of these events, I highly recommend it. But I was there obviously for the event on Saturday, but I had an entire Sunday open. So what do you think I did?
Well, I know what you did, but
Well,
I would have. Now, how far is Canton from Cincinnati or Cleveland or Columbus?
well, Cleveland, it's an hour south. So
Okay.
I could have, if I had time, I would have gone to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I just couldn't do it because Sunday, whenever I get a chance to golf somewhere that I've never golfed before, I'm going to try to take that opportunity.
Mhm.
And I did so. So Sunday involved a 7:22 tee time, an hour and 10 minutes away from my hotel in Canton. And why would I go an hour and 10 minutes away, you ask? Well, I'll tell you, John. I'll tell you because I know you're just waiting for these details. Um, the reason I went to that direction because I had something else planned that day, and that was
Mm.
yes, oh yes, to go on a tour of a former Ohio reformatory. Now,
Ooh.
yes, it just so happens that very prison was used for the filming of my favorite movie of all time, Shawshank Redemption. So, but before I get to the details of that, John, and I got some details. I want to tell you how I was almost a colossal moron, and I'm sure you're going to want to hear this. So, um,
What?
Well,
my only question with that is, can I just almost a colossal moron? Does that still make you a moron?
You know, that's a good question.
Just think about that.
I plead. You know what?
Right? I mean,
I plead the fifth on that one. All right, I'm pleading the
fifth. And I'll
so,
drink a fifth.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, well, you're not on camera, so you're good.
No, that's true. I can do whatever I want.
Yeah. So, anyways, I obviously when I travel, you have to put your golf clubs in a case. So, when deciding to get a golf club case, I decided to go with the indestructible plastic one because again, it's just worth it in the long run. The stress of thinking of whether or not they're going to crush your clubs and like one of those cloth, I couldn't live with that. It would just be too much. So I bought this nice, great case. It's a pain in the ass to lug anywhere. It's heavy, it's bulky, and I complain about it every time. However, once I drop it off and it's, with the airline and being transported, it's fine because I don't have to deal with it. So anyways, I do that. I bring it with me, obviously, because I want to go and play golf. I get all the way to the golf course. Okay. Like I said, tee time, 7:22 in the morning. I had been up since 5, pull into the parking lot. And all of a sudden, John, my heart sank. You know why? Because this case has keys and a lock. So of course, no one can get into it. Well, those keys are on my keys for my car, which, well, since I don't have my car, I don't have them with me. I left them at the hotel. So all of a sudden, I have this incredibly foreboding feeling like, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to play golf today. But fortunately, my prior mistake of forgetting to actually lock the case actually saved myself. So you know what, to answer your previous question, yes, that still makes me a moron, just not a colossal one, because my prior mistake saved me a day of just regretting and basically having to wait 5 hours for my next adventure, which I'm going to get into now. So yes, of course, obviously you have the opportunity to, just if you're ever in Canton and you're a fan of Shawshank, an hour west is the Reformatory I mentioned in Mansfield, Ohio, and it's the filming site of Shawshank Redemption, and as I learned, several other movies. And the only one I can recall right off the top of my head was it was actually used. The prison was used in Air Force One, with Harrison Ford and everything like that. Which I was like, oh, that's pretty cool because I love that movie too. Side note, that was my every time I stayed home sick from school, I'd watch that movie for some reason. I don't know. That was just it. That was that movie. But anyways, you get a chance to go, and if you saw my timeline, or if we follow each other on some of the other social media apps, you might have seen some of the photos that I took. But it was an incredible experience to walk into the warden's office, see some of the actual buildings used or rooms used for some of the scenes in the movie, including the brewer room where Brooks and Red both got rooms after they were paroled. That was actually a room upstairs in the prison. We got to walk through one of the old, because obviously it was a prison a long time ago. So we got to walk through one of the tiers or one of the cell blocks with all the level tiers and everything, just like in the movie. It just wasn't that that particular, from the shot from the movie where obviously Andy and Red and all them stay. But we were able, like I said, to see the warden's office. We were able to see that opening prior to that where, Andy's playing the music and opening up all that stuff. We saw the shower room. We saw the area where they got brought in and deloused and all that. And they actually had some really great memorabilia, including the original actual hole that was used, when the camera pans down and you see Warden Norton and everything like that after it removes the poster. They had that on display. Follow me on Facebook. That is now my Facebook photo of me looking through that, and I will never, ever change that for as long as I live. like I said, and on top of all that, John, after this hour and a half walking tour of the building, we went on a bus tour, and the bus tour brought us to several locations around the area that they filmed, including, and this is probably my favorite photo outside of that photo of me looking through that hole, of where Red was dropped off to go walk to the rock wall, because it's just you stand there and you just see it from the movie. You see the angle, the rolling hills, and everything like that. But absolutely incredible experience. It was, and Kyle, if you missed it before, I know it seems like you were asking. No, this is for Shawshank Redemption. But if you're ever in that area, I highly recommend it. It was $100, John. $100 for a ticket, but it was about 4 hours between the walking tour, the driving part, and while we were in the van driving. It was a relatively small group, probably 8 to 10 people. We watched the movie. How awesome is that? So it was a great experience. And like I said, if you're a fan of that movie, you gotta go do it. You gotta take that trip. It's great. The whole city, the whole area is awesome. So thank you, Canton. Thank you, Mansfield. Thank you, Ohio.
Yeah, well, I mean, it sounds like a great time. $100 though, that's a fairly steep amount for a tour. But I guess everyone can use COVID is a reason why, because the tours have to be smaller or whatever. It's a guided tour, I would assume, right?
Yeah, it's guided, but it also, like I said, I mean, the driving aspect of it was pretty involved. So like we went, there were times where, at one point were like 25 straight minutes in the car going to different locations. So like I said, we were able to see the hay fields in Buxton, quote unquote.
Mm-hmm.
We actually had a chance to go to the cabin from the opening scene. It just happened that it was empty because they actually rent it out, which is actually kind of cool now that I think about it. But the cabin where Andy, quote unquote, commits the crime, and
Mm-hmm.
Obviously where he parked and all that stuff. We went to the foodway, which it doesn't, obviously it looks a little bit different now because it's more of a convenience store and all that, but went to the foodway, went to several other locations. Like I said, it was worth the price, especially if you're a big fan of the movie like I am. So
now I think I have your retirement job. So like say 30 years from now when you're ready to retire and still work a little bit.
I'm thinking about flying up every weekend just to go run these things. You kidding me? Like I would just camp out.
Well, I'm figuring you could be the tour guide, right? Because this is what happens at Fenway Park. Like the old dudes that retire are now the tour guides at Fenway Park. So yeah, maybe you could move to Ohio and live right near there and be the guy that, leads the tours on Shawshank. So that could be a great job.
I'm cool. I'm cool with that. No, our tour guide, his name was Derek. I remember it now. So if he just happens to be listening, no, he did a great job. He was passionate about the movie too. And like I said, you can see that it's these people love, they love doing what they're doing. Or at least the ones
Mm-hmm.
that I saw, they know the movie well and everything like that. But yeah, I mean, like I said, it was a fun experience, and like I said, great job, Ohio. I'm very impressed, especially since I didn't go to Brown's training camp. So
yeah, that's right. You could have gone to Bengals or Browns training camp, or maybe I think the Indians were in town on Sunday. I think they were playing the Yankees.
Oh yeah,
no, actually the Yankees were playing St. Louis.
No, Houston. They were playing Houston. Yeah,
Houston. Yeah, I think it was a 1-0 game. I think the game started at 11 a.m. if I wasn't mistaken. But if I had to go to tour my favorite movie, it'd be The Godfather. So obviously I'd go in the Italian restaurant where Michael kills Salazzo and McCluskey. That would be where I'd dine, and then go to the mansion where Don Corleone, had his family, and go to all the different places that was used to shoot the movie. Where Don Corleone was shot near the little market, like the where the fruits and vegetables are sold outside, kind of like old Haymarket Square. So that I'm sure there's probably something like that in New York. I mean, Kramer had a tour, right? Remember with the muffin tops, So it's all out there. We gotta start being very industrious about this and come up with good ideas for this.
Well, this was definitely I had learned of this actual tour being a thing not too long ago. So I was very surprised that I didn't know about it, but then very eager to go do this. But there are a couple other tours like that I've always wanted to go, and two of them, involve places not named Ohio, actually, so it's a little bit harder to get to. One is in Hawaii, and that is to basically tour all the sets and scenes or the areas from the show Lost. I was always a big fan of that show. And plus, I mean, over there, there's, I mean, so many movies and stuff have been filmed in that area. Like Jurassic Park, some of those scenes are shot in that area. So it's like just being over there would be pretty cool. The second, John, is Iceland. And that is, based on a lot of the filming for Game of Thrones being down there, and seeing some of the architecture and stuff like that that they used, and the backdrops that they used in that show. Two of the tours that I would definitely want to go on.
As long as you don't alert me that you're going to Peru with Aaron Rodgers to partake in ayahuasca, I just want to make sure that doesn't happen.
No. That's not me. I don't need to fall in love with football again, John. Apparently he did. It did nothing for his family. Apparently, ayahuasca was not the drug for that. But no, I mean, look, we talk about how crunchy and I guess granola, is that offensive? Sorry, folks, I don't mean it offensively, but that Aaron Rodgers kind of is now with like all these like, I don't know, he's an odd guy. All right.
Yeah,
he's an odd guy. It is what it is. So
now because he's so rich, he becomes eccentric, right? When you have no money, you're odd. When you're rich, you become eccentric. His new girlfriend is Blue of Earth. So he's gone from Olivia Munn to Danica Patrick to Shailene Woodley, now Blue of Earth, who had to deny that she's a witch. He's in an odd place, but maybe he forgot to take the ayahuasca cleansing or whatever before the playoff game against San Francisco, because he didn't look like he was in love with football that night.
No. I talk about this all the time. I say it. There's an Aaron Rodgers cycle, and this is right in what I expect this time of the year. By this point, like his hype doesn't get any bigger than this. He does all these like kind of, odd things. Like I said, I'm not judging him. I have no other way to describe him other than kind of like, he likes to come in dressed as characters, and that's cool. I thought it was great when he showed up as Nick Cage in from Con Air. That was awesome. Like I'm not like saying don't do that. I'm just saying he's an odd guy, but the fandom and the narrative around him right now is, I referenced the Peter King thing just a few minutes ago. He fell in love with football again. Oh, Aaron Rodgers, this, da 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 da. We get into the season, he starts having these good games. It's like, oh, Aaron Rodgers, da 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 da. And then we get to the playoffs, and there's a failure, and then there's this negativity that lasts, not too long, but eventually we get right back into the cycle where, it's the same thing over and over again, and he hasn't been back to a Super Bowl. So, he's fun. It's engaging. It's easy to talk about him because he does all these crazy things. But the reality of it is, this guy's got a lot of pressure on him. And I'm thinking from when we're talking about the NFC, big picture wise, I don't think they got better, John. I'm not saying they got worse, but I definitely don't think they got better this offseason. And I think that would be concerning for Packers fans. And part of that is I don't know without Devontae. And again, I'm not saying that Aaron Rodgers relies on Devontae Adams. I just don't think they adequately replaced him. Especially, you don't have to replace 30 touchdowns in 2 seasons, but you need something. And I just don't think they did that. And my big,
you don't think Sammy Watkins can fill the role?
No. I mean,
maybe he's a guy who'll have 2 good games, and you'll say, "Wow, what a talented wide receiver!" And then he'll be hurt for 4 weeks.
Then exactly. Yeah. That's exactly what's going to happen. And quite frankly, like I'd be a little bit less concerned if this team was like number 1, number 2 in offense. But I guess, like I've said before, they were a fringe top 10 team offensively, and now you're losing a very valuable weapon. Like I don't know if, and I'm glad that noise came up because apparently my phone's about to die, and I would have lost you, John. I don't want to lose you, John. That would be terrible. No. But yeah, I would worry because I think I think the Bucks are the Bucks. I don't know if they've gotten better. I don't know if they've gotten worse. But I definitely, let's just say this. I think the Bucks are a Super Bowl contender. I think, with Brady, whatever. We've seen enough from Tom Brady, I think, by this point, John, to know that he's pretty much makes your team a Super Bowl contender. Plus, they have a lot of talent on their team. I mean, let's not forget that. The Rams, I think, got better. I don't know if Matt Stafford can have another run like that in it. I mean, that's something I'm just unsure of. I'm not saying he can. I'm not saying he will. I don't know. He might be a guy that just wins one Super Bowl and, he put it together all in one season and it worked out well. But the Rams got better. So do you think the Packers right now could win 3 playoff games just to get to the Super Bowl?
Well, I mean, the last 2 years they were fortunate to be the number 1 seed, so they only needed to win 2 at home, and they couldn't even accomplish that. I mean, they had the NFC Championship game in their backyard against Tampa, and they came up short. Then last year they had home field advantage throughout the playoffs. Had San Francisco coming in on a cold, kind of snowy Saturday night, which should set them up to win, and they scored 10 points. So, yeah, I mean, if it's going to be even more difficult this year, why would you believe that would happen? I think their defense got better, which is kind of odd to say that because I think have drafted really well on defense. They spent 2 first-round picks, adding a couple of studs from Georgia. Jair Alexander should be back all year. He missed most of last year. I think their defense is really good. I think there's 2 teams in the league that I'm looking at. Well, especially one. I'll stick with Green Bay. And we're putting out some posts, obviously, with future bets and, betting selections. Mm-hmm. I think the Packers are going to be an under team this year. I think that their defense is going to be really good. They're going to run the football. We know how much they bleed the clock and play good situational football and don't turn it over. I think you might be looking at Green Bay being an under team this year, which because you have the 2-time reigning MVP, you wouldn't think that makes sense. But I think that could happen. Yeah, but you don't replace Devontae Adams. That's a major, major concern. You get Sammy Watkins, who's always hurt. Alan Lazard, who to me is a 3rd or 4th wide receiver. Randall Cobb's older than me. He's out there running routes. I mean, they've drafted some guys and look, he doesn't necessarily work well with some of these young wide receivers. If they run the wrong route, he's going to be pissed off. And Brady's the same way, but, Brady does have 7 Super Bowls to back that up. Rodgers has 1. So I think, their offense is going to have some problems, but I think they're going to run the football effectively. And in that offense, they'll be able to put some points on the board. But look, it's going to be a crapshoot in the NFC. And then throw into the fact that Matthew Stafford is dealing now with some elbow issues.
Yeah,
which they're comparing to a baseball pitcher's injury, which that doesn't make much sense. I mean, if he's Chris Sale, we won't see him all season.
Yeah, and that's a great point because that's if you're the Rams, that's alarming. I try to distinguish this and not kind of come across as I guess bias or whatever, or just being like a fan of Brady because I we've talked about the 2020 Bucks and I've always tried to make the distinction that they weren't just a quarterback away, they were Tom Brady away. Just based on all the circumstances, without training camp, everything involved with who the team was, that, and the other. The Rams, I thought, were an elite quarterback away, or an elite quarterback season, and I think you certainly got that from Matt Stafford. So I'm not trying to diminish what he did by any account, but I think you could have. I mean, you could have put Tom Brady with the Rams; they would have won the Super Bowl. I think, you have a really good shot, regardless of some of his struggles in the playoffs. Put Aaron Rodgers on that team. That obviously they're going to have a great shot. So I'm not trying to take anything away from the Rams. Or from Stafford, but I do think that there's probably a wider net that you could cast around several quarterbacks that would have probably given them. Because look, I mean, they were just in the Super Bowl a couple years ago. We're not talking about the Bucks who hadn't won a playoff game since 2002. Like this was a team that was already in the Super Bowl. So there's a fairly large difference in the two. But to get back to Stafford, all of a sudden, if he's banged up, this team is good. But like I said before, I mean, you still need an elite quarterback or at least an elite run from a quarterback to win a Super Bowl. So it's. I would certainly be worried, and that would open the door, obviously, for Green Bay, because beyond that, I mean, who in the NFC? I mean, the NFC East, I always kind of wait and kind of see how it plays out, because Philly could be really good, Dallas could be really good, or they could both finish 10-7, and by virtue of beating up on each other and the rest of the NFC East. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, is Carson Wentz going to be healthy? If he is, maybe we get a 2016 type season from Carson Wentz without the injury, or whatever. Was it 2016? Am I completely
2017?
2017. Right.
Yep.
I just wow. My mind got fried in that humidity, so I'm still recovering right now. So I actually
you were in prison for 4 hours.
Yes,
so
yes. Well, I'll tell you what, man. Those cells, the doors came down to about my eyebrow, so I had to duck to get into those. It was really really creepy. I did not eat any of the paint chips though, because they warned us it does have lead in it. So, but yeah, I mean it's. That could certainly open the door, I think, if there's a long period of time that Matt Stafford is injured. I mean, maybe they go out and get Jimmy Garoppolo. You don't know. Even though I don't think that really changes much. I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo wins them a Super Bowl. But, of course, San Francisco is a wild card. I think there's they have the 5th best odds right now in the NFC to go to the Super Bowl. But that's putting a lot on Trey Lance, which, they're kind of a big question mark. I mean, we really don't know. I mean, obviously the 49ers see him in practice, so they have an idea of what they're going to get, or at least anticipate or have a good guess about what they're going to get, but we don't know. So am I going to count on San Francisco right now? Probably not. So
and there'll be a team that kind of emerges that surprises us. I know everyone now is saying Minnesota could be that team, that they've had talent. Now they've made the change in coaching to go with Kevin O'Connell, who is again a disciple of Sean McVay, and those guys have had success, right? They go to another team and get them up to speed pretty quickly, and that this will be the first time Kirk Cousins did play in this offense back in Washington, and maybe he'll have even a better year, although Cousins puts up good numbers. It just doesn't seem like they translate to winning games. So yeah, I mean, I would think that the Rams, Green Bay, and Tampa are the 3 best teams in the NFC. I do think Philadelphia made some really good moves in the offseason, but is Jalen Hurts that guy? Is he going to elevate them to become a Super Bowl contender? In Dallas, I don't know. I mean, they lost a lot at wide receiver. And look, there hasn't been a repeat champion in the NFC East since 2004. And there's only 4 teams in the division. That almost doesn't seem possible. No one's repeated in nearly 20 years. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's wild, but it kind of speaks to how funky that division always has been. I mean, as much as everything changes, it all stays the same. This is the same exact thing that was happening with these teams back when the entire staff and player personnel was different. It's not like it's just this iteration of this. Right? No, this has been going on for 20 years. Like, this is just what we anticipate. This is the NFC East. It's very unpredictable. So, anyways, we'll be back tomorrow. We're going to have obviously some more training camp stuff to talk about. We didn't get a chance to do it today, unfortunately, but we will talk about Kevin Durant because he had himself a little power move these past couple days. And, hey, I enjoy watching this whole thing implode in Brooklyn. So I'm all for the drama. So we'll try to talk about that a little bit tomorrow. And then, of course, talk about any other NFL news that may come down the pipe. We're still waiting for the appeal hearing for Deshaun Watson. So we should hopefully get that very soon. So everyone, thank you very much for tuning in. Give us a follow on Twitter at Full Press Radio, at FPC Radio Live. And of course, head over to fullpresscoverage.com, fullpresshockey.com, and check out all the great stuff going on over there. Have a great day, folks. And